This movie is not scary, okay? Not one bit. They tried, oh they tried, to make this movie terrifying, but I am sorry to report that they failed in spades. Even John Williams did his best to up the terror with his score, especially during this part of the soundtrack, which is practically yelling at you. Dun 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 dun! I totally understand what was supposed to be scary about this movie, especially towards the end, when the kids are isolated and defenseless against the shark on their ruined boats. But alas, the soundtrack, the overacting of Tina and Jackie, the overabundance of, wow, that was too close moments, they just didn't stack up to the actual terror and dread that the first movie brought with it. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the first death in Jaws. The girl at the buoy. I don't remember what her name is, but it's pretty freaking scary. I tell you, I remember that. Let's talk about Quint's grisly death. This man was eaten alive, feet first, one at a time. Jesus, what a way to go. Although at least he was a full-grown adult, and he knew the risks that he and Hooper and Brody took when they went on the boat on the Orca to hunt Jaws. Unlike the little boy on the yellow raft. Do you remember that? I found the scene with the little boy on the yellow raft to be particularly horrifying. This scene actually scares me every time I watch it. I feel dread. Can you even imagine? Can you imagine the absolute sense of fear and of physical anguish that that little boy endured during the final seconds of his life? It's a freaking nightmare. And while you think about that, think about this. Think about being one of those other people in his immediate vicinity. This little boy was dragged to a gruesome, watery death under full sunlight while surrounded by the public as the sheriff looked directly at him. So instead of that in Jaws 2, we get this. Don't care. She was asking for it. What the hell was she doing with that gas can? I mean, she was obviously trying to light the shark, right? With the flare gun. But why the fuck would you hold the gas can directly over your head at all? She had it coming, and it was borderline funny. Now, this scene here is legitimately pretty scary. It's probably the scariest part of the movie, when this woman gets eaten right in front of the rest of the group of kids while trying to save Sean. Fuck all of that. This is the event that I guess sends Jackie into, like, shock, and you can just tell how traumatized she is because she shakes. But then there's this bullshit. God damn it! That's another thing. How this movie dealt with the shark. In my opinion, they gave us too much. They showed too much of the shark to us. And they turned him basically into like a generic slasher villain. Like a Mike Myers, except for underwater and cold-blooded. Now, I will say this. They didn't have a ton of options on how to deal with the shark, and we'll talk more about that in detail in just a couple of cons from now. Why didn't they even give Brody a fair chance? Didn't they see Jaws? Didn't they see the first movie? I mean, the mayor is the same dude, the same guy, and his terrible decision-making directly led to several of the deaths in the first movie. This is the same dude in the same capacity. Fuck. It doesn't make any sense. Now look, I understand that the odds of a great white shark terrorizing a beach in Maine after a different great white shark has already terrorized the same beach in Maine are astounding. And some of the evidence that Brody brings is kind of weak sauce. The photograph, he shot at a school of bluefish, but still, this dude definitely knows what he's talking about. And the mayor knows it, his wife knows it, the shark knows it, you know it, I know it, and the Lord knows it. So I totally understand why this movie came to be. You see, Jaws was a huge, huge success. It was the first, true blockbuster. It coined the phrase, as a matter of fact. And Universal was like, we are going to make a shitload of money if we make a sequel. And so there it was. Steven Spielberg didn't want anything to do with it, and he bailed. Roy Scheider didn't want to be in it either, from what I read, but he walked off of the set of Deer Hunter and hence was still under contract at Universal. So he found himself a nice spot returning as Brody in Jaws 2. A movie that demonstrates perfectly well the dangers of making a cash grab sequel, especially to a movie that is almost perfect and that has 50 years of staying power. I wish the Wachowskis had known about this before making the Matrix sequels, which we don't talk about. Not here, not anywhere. So, with there being no real way to effectively recreate the original, the director of this movie, Gennat Zwark, there's no way that this director could replicate Steven Spielberg's blockbuster. A carbon copy wasn't going to work, and I feel like Zwark, some of his decisions were based on this presupposition. There was going to need to be a pivot. It kind of reminds me of how Alien, directed by Ridley Scott, and Aliens, directed by James Cameron, were different movies. Like, Aliens was an action movie with horror elements. Alien was a claustrophobic horror set in outer space. Aliens worked fine. It was actually a lot of fun to watch. It was great. Jaws 2, however, contains a very, very, very big flaw. Maybe the worst flaw of them all. I must point again to the astounding odds that a small, otherwise unknown beach community in Maine, the United States, will get terrorized by two separate great white sharks in a 365-day span. It doesn't make any sense. Like, why this beach? What is going on in that town? What's in the water? Why that beach? Why don't they find a different town to chew up? Why didn't Jaws 2 find a different beach to go chew people up on? Like, it's mind-blowing how they thought people would take this seriously. The plot, in addition to being completely ridiculous, is also paper-thin and can be summarized as follows. Here we go. A shark eats a dude. All of our characters are convened. A shark eats more dudes. Brody thinks it's a shark, but the Numbskull City bureaucrats don't think it's a shark for whatever reason, and they fucking fire him. The shark eats some more people and strands some more of them on the water. Brody shows up and kills the shark, and that's a wrap. I actually had some difficulty in writing out the plot synopsis for this review, because not much really happens. I just described the entire plot of this movie in like 6 sentences. Alright, I guess it's about all I've got to say about Jaws 2. It's not awful. It's not gonna hold up to the original. We just talked about that. No shark movie is gonna ever hold up to the original. Matter of fact, it seems like people are actively going out of their ways to make the shittiest possible shark movies imaginable. Ice sharks, sand sharks, or desert sharks, or whatever it's called. But with that said, Jaws 2 is a better, a well-made movie. It's fine. If you want to have a movie to watch with some friends, pop it on and sit there and, lampoon your way through it. I know my friends Mark and Katie and I did that with Jaws 3D lately, but there are definitely worse ways to spend a couple of hours. Let me know what you think. If you have any opinions, if you have any strong opinions about Jaws 2, let me know, and I will talk to you soon. Okay, bye.